What's up, guys? So I made this post years ago, and I've made a video about this post a couple times. I think it bears repeating every now and then, especially now where it seems to be cyclical. My studies and my peer reviews, and uh, you know, it does lend itself to winning internet arguments more than it does to helping somebody, maximize their training results. At least that's been my perception of it to this point. And it's not to disparage some of these studies, as there can be some useful data to be extrapolated from them. But I think too many people tend to use them, like I said, A, to win internet arguments, and then B, they kind of want to stand out uh, and push back against kind of the norm and what's been the standard protocol. And a lot of times they're doing this to stand out because their either physiques or lifts don't make them stand out. That seems to be a lot of the case a lot of times. It's certainly not every case in particular, but when you can't stand out in a field that demands a certain look or a certain performance to stand out, you have to find other ways to stand out. And some people will do that through coaching. Some people will do that through, their personality, rather than, what's physically outward appearing, which even within the space, that's a thing. And then some people will try to be, smarter than everybody. And seems like that seems to be the case a lot of times. Here's the thing, though. Bro science. Science. Bro science. There is science there. It's not controlled in a lab. All of these variables aren't taken into account, of course. But when we can look back over decades of lifters in whatever, your discipline may be or your interest, be it bodybuilding, powerlifting, general strength and fitness, aesthetic physiques, that golden era, silver era, modern class, whatever the case may be. The people at the top, the people that we see the most, the people who have been successful, right? The people that you aspire to get to their level, or as close to that level as you can given your genetics, if you're just a hobbyist, right? They are the subjects. Their whole body of work is the training, is the study, right? And we can look at them and we can look at what they have in common. And I've repeated this so many times on so many different videos. When you're looking in a particular discipline and you're looking at the people at or near the top, whatever that top 10, top 20, top 50, top 100, find the commonalities. That's the studies, that's our observational data. What are they all doing that's the same or similar? They're all achieving success. What do they have in common? This is probably like the best study we have. This is what's going on in the real world, not 10 or 20 well-trained lifters who have an average bench press of 210 pounds. What does that mean to me? I skip that weight in my warm-ups, right? It's maybe there's minor things I could pick out of a study done on that sample group. But I would rather look at, the top 10 to 20 bench pressers of all time, even in a given weight class. Like saying, now I compete at 220 when I compete. Look at the top 220 pound bench pressers of all time. Even the top 20 drug tested, since I'm in that category. What do they all have in common? What are they all doing the same in their training? That's my study. those are my subjects of the study. I don't care that it's not controlled. I would rather see what commonalities they have, even though their variables are all different, even though they may be having different diets. What are they all eating in common? What dietary nuances do they tend to have in common? If not all of them, maybe there's 15 out of that 20 that all eat pretty similarly. Well, that's probably closer to where I want to be, right? Again, that's the study. Those are the subjects. That's the variables. That's what they're doing. What training methods are they doing? Okay, maybe 5 of them are doing this particular way. 10 of them are doing something closer along the lines of that. And then there's another 5 that are just doing some weird, unique shit on their own. But what commonality is amongst them? There's going to be a lot of overlapping principles. What are those overlapping principles? That bro science. Those are the people getting results. Those are the studies that I want to see. Would it be nice to get the top 20 bench pressers of all time together at a lab for 18 weeks, for 6 months, for a year, and control all of their variables, and then do some really in-depth stuff with them in testing their training and or diets? Of course, that would be fucking amazing. That's not reality. But we get to see the real world now with the internet and everybody having Instagrams and YouTubes and TikToks and Facebooks and all this and that. There's not a lot of secrets. So that's we get that observational data. And again, that's way, way cooler and way more valuable to me. And again, not to say some of these studies don't have any value at all. But if I'm pursuing something and I'm trying to pursue it to the best I can, again, even if it's just a hobby, but I still want to maximize, given my parameters, what I can do. Why am I going to abolish bro science and say, oh no, even the chicken rice broccoli bro, everybody, when IIFYM came around, everybody made fun of that. I still see more jacked and strong dudes closer to that chicken, rice, and broccoli diet, closer to those guidelines, than I see people eating Pop-Tarts being jacked and strong. Now, don't get me wrong. There's definitely some overlap and a lot of in between gray area there. It's not all black and white, but from my observations, the really elite, strong, jacked people, especially if you're taking like leanness into account, I know that's important to a lot of people, are a lot closer to that chicken, rice, and broccoli bro than they are being a little more loose with their dietary with their diet as far as what they're actually consuming. Macros be damned. Anyway, find your own. Find what works. I don't think there needs to be this great disdain that some of the science-based community tends to have towards somebody, not wanting to learn every little single detail at the finest level. That's not necessary for most of us. That's not necessary for a lot of the most elite athletes. It's you put in the work, you learn the basics, you master the basics, and then you find the little nuances that work for you. But again, the bro science, the bros throughout the years, that's still science. It's imperfect science. Maybe you want to call it bad science. But there's still a lot of evidence there. And, plucking from the anecdotal evidence when a handful of these elite people in whatever field, when their anecdotes are overlapping, that evidence is good enough for me. I mean, if it's somebody that I really respect, I will take one person's anecdote. If Sam Sheether tells me something, if Alexander Bromley tells me something, if Paris tells me something, if Buggs tells me something, right? I'm gonna take that, and I'll at least, one person saying it doesn't make it golden. But when it comes from those specific people or somebody I look up to, I definitely, take inventory of it. And it's something that I will strongly consider, depending upon what my goals are at the time, if I have the leeway of implementing, because I respect them, and that's all I need. Somebody who's better than me, or knows something about another field that I don't really know about, to tell me something, give me some piece of advice, and it can be their singular anecdote, their N equals one. Maybe it does apply to me, maybe it doesn't apply to me, but I would take their N equals one, depending upon who it is, over a study of 50 well-trained individuals, who leg press 300 pounds on an 8-week study. So let's not neglect the bro science as just being purely anecdotes or just being N equals one, especially when we have more than one at this point, and we can go back and look among a plethora of lifters of varying disciplines and observe, trends and commonalities and results in the real world, and not call that evidence based. That is absolutely evidence based, and probably more valuable than what's done in a laboratory. Rant over. Peace.